Oh, Sony, how were you once on the top of the gaming industry like the king of the world? You once beat Nintendo on prices and really taunted Xbox with the PlayStation share thing, like, the console as well, like the disc and so like this one. Sure, you did make the oopsie whoopsie with the PS3 thingy with that.
The 60 gigabyte PlayStation 3 for $599 US.
Yeah, which is a pretty poopy move, honestly. But you did manage to make the PlayStation 3 an awesome console with some awesome games with the PlayStation 3 Slim. But here we are right now, 2026. We just have a banger after banger of the game series, Resident Evil Requiem, other stuff like that. Stuff like this one. And Sony has been cooking up for some while after that. I've been just minding my own business and my summer vacation so far, for going and all stuff like this. Until...
Oh my goodness! Squidward!
What is up, people? Storms Dakota here, and today we'll be ranting about, well, the elephant in the room. People already been talking about this in Twitter, I don't know, Reddit and stuff like that one. So we'll be talking about, of course, PlayStation, also known as Sony, for their infamous move on removing physical copies throughout every world at the start of 2028. And when this movement happened, people were fuming. And it's not just regular folks around the world. It was the gaming community, PlayStation community, and anyone who's outside of that, including Xbox, PC, and Nintendo players. Now, you might be asking yourself, what did Sony ever do? Why Sony made that decision to remove physical copies at the start of January 2028? Well, I'm glad you freaking asked. First of all, let's put some on nudges, of course. Before July 1st, Sony decided to remove all the movies that's in the store. Which at first I honestly don't care because I'm playing PlayStation for the games. But then people kind of noticing what's going on. Why did PlayStation remove any of the movies from the PlayStation Store? But then, right after that, following up to July 1st, this happened. The removal of physical copies, and of course the PlayStation 3 and Vita's removal store. This is another topic, I would like to mention that later on. But this news really significantly hit us players and everyone in the community really hard. And not in a good way. People were furious on Twitter that they decided to make a post about saying no disc, no buy. It's kind of like a similar situation with King of Fighters 12 in a way. That there's no Mai Shiranui and they say no buy, which is kind of a funny thing. But this is a real serious matter on Sony because this time instead of Sony saying oops, sorry, we just fake things. Later, in the week, Sony made announcements that they were going to move this casual. Means they're not pulling punches. They're not, going back into this. They're just moving cautiously. They decided to just put up a middle finger.
Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, and fuck you, I'm out.
That's their response, which is fucking pissing me off, and so is everyone else. Now, to talk about people's reaction to this information and how it affected them over the weeks after July, first of all, PlayStation fanbase. People are quite divided. Some say that they don't care about physical discs and have already gotten used to digital, which, get used to it, this segment, you'll understand why when I discussed about this. And most others are against that idea and instead boycott Sony by only buying physical games, selling their PS5, jailbreak. I mean, legally use the PS5 for testing purposes. Yeah. But often you'll hear from them saying that they're switched to either PC or Nintendo Switch. But mostly for PC because, well, for a good reason. You see, when you buy a game from the PlayStation Store, instead of actually buying the game and owning that game, you instead get a license for the game you purchased. Remember what I said about Sony removing the entire movies from the store? Well, people who bought those movies from the store have had their entire movies removed by Sony. And without reason.
What were thing!
So theoretically, people who say that they don't care about physical copies will get their games that they have in their libraries removed in a snap. Everyone on social media now knows Sony has become, and at this point, the previous Sony that was cool and all is dead, and now only focuses on the influencers and money, which is the current Sony looks at all of their fan bases as nothing more than a stepping stone of greed. Now, to mention why they switched to PC, because someone has made a PS5 emulator. That's right, I'm not shitting with you. Look at the Twitter in there and stuff like that. And it's somehow blowing up on Twitter, social media, yeah, you know, that stuff. That'll make people switch to PC a lot more impactful to Sony's own downfall. Which leads to my own personal opinion on the whole Sony situation thing. But before I continue on my own opinion, I just want to let you guys know that I don't want to hear any of your hate comments when you're watching this video and it's listening to my own opinion. I can understand that some of my opinions may have been a little off-putting in some ways, but I didn't mean anything harm. So if I hear any of those comments saying like, you hate PlayStation because you're poor and stuff like that, just shut up, please. But without further ado, my opinion on this whole situation, I'm kind of really in the middle of all of this thing. Oh, there's my cat, excuse me. Now, don't get me wrong, my friends and I are in a group chat, have our thoughts about it, and most of us can agree that the Sony's decision was both ridiculous and most wrong in a way. And it's right for the fan base to start turning back on Sony to protest on their own decision and protect physical games and stuff like that. Especially there's that one event that when I was searching on Twitter that for 1 week they'll stop playing on the PlayStation 5 and turn off in like PlayStation Network and stuff like that for only 1 week, if I'm correct on that situation. But yeah, I agree on some of their decision on that part. But on the other hand, it can kind of make the gaming community much worse for their reputation if they keep this one up. Like, think about it for a moment. People would often stay away from the PlayStation community much more after that stuff. And even now, if people get along with that change, it'll hurt Sony's sales that much. Now, I don't mean to actually defend Sony's decision to remove physical copies. Oh god, no. But there are some people out there who are really concerned about this movement, whether it really did change Sony's actions or not. But considering that Stop Killing Games is working on the situation to prevent that ever happening, and there are some good alternatives around here. Yes, even I knew Nintendo knew about this fortunate decision, but that's like crazy for my own opinion. I have a lot of things to agree on with people going against Sony. But there are some rare yet most important things to think about, considering actions rather than rashful ones. Like whatever PlayStation community tries to do, whatever something drastic measures, but if Sony still keeps up with the no physical copy stuff, or even we try to convince them that, you know, stop doing this, but Sony just like deny everything what they listen to, in the end, it probably won't change anything but to hurt themselves.
In spite of everything you've done for them, eventually they will hate you. Why bother?
Then again, this is just my own opinion. Not to be disrespectful to both sides and to my viewers at all. So in short, I agree that physical games are important, and Sony will regret that decision at all. But I don't want to get involved in this situation way further than that, despite how bad it is. So with that, this is Storm Rants about Sony and the removal of physical copy situation, and I hope you enjoyed watching this video. It's sort of an honest opinion on this entire situation, and while I can really understand some viewers that disagree with what I just said, some understood the situation with me. However, there is one thing we can all agree on. Whoever brings up the idea of shutting down PlayStation 3 and Vita stores in July next year
belong on a cross.
Oh, and if you're thinking about me getting GTA 6,